If you've ever stood on an open piece of land with the wind just hammering you from every direction, you already know why today's topic matters. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Land Buyer's Guide. I'm your host, Scott Thomas, owner of landparker.com, where we help everyday people get onto rural land with affordable owner financing. And today we're talking about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention: building a windbreak fence. It's one of the most practical things you can do on a rural property, and honestly, it's a lot more manageable than most people think. So let's get into it. First, what even is a windbreak fence? The name kind of says it, right? It's a barrier that slows down wind before it hits whatever you're trying to protect. Could be a garden, could be a barn, a chicken coop, your outdoor workspace, even your home. Wind on open land is no joke. It dries out your soil, stresses your animals, kills crops, and just makes being outside genuinely miserable. A good windbreak changes all of that. Now here's something interesting that a lot of people don't realize. A solid wall actually isn't the best way to block wind. Sounds counterintuitive, right? But a fence that has some spacing, some porosity to it, actually works better. When wind hits a solid wall, it swirls up and over and crashes right back down on the other side. But when it passes through a slightly open structure, it slows down more gradually and stays slower for a longer distance. So a slatted fence design, where boards have small gaps between them, is actually more effective than going completely solid. Something around 40 to 50% open is the sweet spot, and the protection area is bigger than most people expect. A 6-foot fence can provide meaningful wind protection for up to 60 feet on the downwind side. That's 10 times the height of the fence. So you don't need a massive structure to make a real difference. Okay, so how do you actually build one? Let's walk through it. The first thing you want to do before you buy a single board or dig a single hole is figure out where the wind is actually coming from on your land. In a lot of the US, prevailing winds come from the northwest or southwest, depending on your region. Spend some time on your property. Pay attention. You want to put the windbreak on the windward side of whatever you're protecting. So usually to the north or west of your garden or outbuildings. A couple other things to check at this stage. Look into property lines and easements before you start digging. That's just a smart move anytime you're putting something permanent in the ground. Also think about sun exposure. You don't want to accidentally shade your garden or block a solar panel setup. And if you're on a piece of land you just bought or are thinking about buying, check whether there's already some natural wind protection there. Existing tree rows or old fence lines could save you a lot of work. Now for materials. This is where you get to make some choices based on your budget and how much maintenance you want to deal with down the road. Wood is the most popular option for a reason. Cedar is fantastic. Naturally rot resistant, looks great, holds up well. Treated lumber is more affordable and works really well, especially for posts that are going into the ground. Either way, wood is easy to work with using basic tools and gives you that classic homestead look. If you want something really low maintenance and super durable, corrugated metal panels are worth considering. They last a long time and don't need much upkeep. The trade-off is they can cost more up front, and they're a little harder to cut and shape without the right tools. And here's something worth thinking about if you're planning long-term. Planting a row of dense evergreens alongside your fence is a serious upgrade. Arborvitae, spruce, juniper, they fill in over time and give you year-round protection. The fence does the work immediately while the trees are getting established. It's a great combination. Once you got your materials picked out, let's talk about the build itself. Setting your posts is the most important part. Get this wrong and the whole fence is going to struggle. Wind is a constant force. It's not like a storm that comes and goes. Your windbreak is taking that pressure day after day. So solid posts matter more here than on a lot of other fence projects. Dig your post holes at least 2 feet deep. If you're in a region with frost heave or really high winds, go deeper. A general guideline is to bury about 1/3 of the total post length. Space your posts somewhere between 6 and 8 feet apart. Use a level as you go. A post that's even a little off plumb is going to look crooked and can affect how the whole fence holds up over time. Set your posts in concrete. Let it cure. Give it at least 24 to 48 hours before you start attaching anything. And for your corner posts and end posts, it's worth going a little deeper and adding some diagonal bracing. Those spots take the most strain. Once the posts are solid, the rest of the build moves pretty quickly. Run 2 or 3 horizontal rails between your posts, one up top, one near the bottom, and one in the middle if you're building taller than about 4 feet. That gives you the framework to attach your boards to. Then you attach your slatted boards or pickets vertically. Leave small, consistent gaps between each one. A good trick here is to cut a small spacer block at whatever gap width you want and use it as a guide as you go. It keeps everything uniform and speeds up the process a lot. Use exterior grade screws rather than nails. They hold better over time, and if a board warps or splits down the road, screws are way easier to deal with than nails. Pre-drill near the ends of your boards too. It reduces splitting, especially with drier wood. After the fence is up, if you used raw or untreated wood, put a weather-resistant stain or sealant on it. Even a basic exterior wood stain makes a real difference in how long it lasts. For ongoing maintenance, just keep an eye on the posts at ground level. That's where rot tends to start first. Check for loose screws after big wind events, and try to keep vegetation from piling up against the base of the fence. Trapped moisture speeds up decay faster than almost anything else. Here's a helpful takeaway if you're in the process of buying rural land or thinking about it. When you're evaluating a property, look at what's already there. Existing fence lines, old tree rows, natural terrain. These things can already be doing some of that wind protection work. A piece of land that already has some natural shelter is genuinely more valuable. And it's easy to overlook when you're focused on acreage and price. Also worth knowing, some rural areas have USDA programs through the NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, that offer cost share assistance for windbreak plantings on agricultural land. If you're buying land for farming or homesteading, it's worth a quick look to see if that applies to you. And just one more thing before you go build, check local zoning rules or any HOA restrictions if those apply in your area. Fence height limits vary by location, and it's a lot easier to find that out before you build than after. Look, a windbreak fence isn't a complicated project. It's a weekend build that pays off for years. Better growing conditions, more comfortable time outdoors, protection for your animals and your structures. And for anyone who's just getting started on a piece of rural land, it's one of the best first projects you can take on. All right, that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Land Buyer's Guide. If you're thinking about getting onto some land of your own, come check us out at landparker.com. We've got discounted rural properties available across the country with owner financing, sometimes as low as $100 down and $100 a month. No bank needed, no credit hoops to jump through, just straightforward land ownership. Head over to landparker.com, browse what's available, and if you've got questions, we're easy to reach. We'll see you next time.